This podcast is created to explore the many different ways people move through the world, especially when life, health, injury, circumstance, or the environment can make everyday experiences easier or harder in different ways. We all experience the world differently at different points in our lives. And by listening to one another, we hope we can build more awareness, empathy, and understanding. The goal is not to define anyone by a label, but to learn from real experiences so that we can design homes, workplaces, technology, public spaces, services, and communities that work better for more people. So today we welcome Kaushik Majumdar. Thank you so much for being here and for being willing to share a little bit about your experience. Before we jump in, just a reminder, there's no right or wrong language here, no questions that could possibly go wrong or have a wrong answer. So please use whatever words feel more comfortable and true to you. Okay, so the next 20 minutes or so are all about you. So please guide this conversation with us, okay? We really appreciate you helping us better understand what a more inclusive world could look like. So Professor Kaushik,
thank you very much.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being with us. Do you want to tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about your background?
Yeah. So thank you very much for inviting me in your broadcast. I am a professor of computer science. I work in cognitive science in Indian Statistical Institute.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And can you tell us a little bit about how you go about your everyday there? Because we can see you here on the podcast, but nobody will be able to tell just by looking at this window. When I met you face to face, it was a very different experience. So can you tell us a little bit about you and your experience with disability?
Well, I suffer a very high degree of locomotor disability, which of course cannot be made out seeing my face. So you will have to be able to see my whole body, that I am sitting on a wheelchair right now. Okay. So I'm wheelchair bound since very early in my childhood, when I had a severe attack of polio at 1 year, 4 months of age, to be more precise. And it was pretty extensive. I mean, I at one point of time in my life, I couldn't even move my head from side to side, or couldn't even hold a biscuit in my fingers. So I was so I, I've been so completely paralyzed. Then gradually came back. I survived. At one point of time, that there was very little chance of my survival, but still I survived somehow. And gradually I regained some strength, particularly my forearms, and some strength in my upper uh, body, upper portion of my body, not in the legs though. And I started schooling little late. Uh, I mean, at 7 years of age, I went to class one. Sorry, class two, in the second standard. That's how I started, and then I gradually completed my schooling. Then went to college, and then completed my university studies. So accessibility was a huge problem, because I was I was brought up in a rural area of eastern part of India, which is called Bengal. Okay, so there was almost no accessibility, no concept of accessibility. So often I had to be lifted from one place to another, and put on a seat. And after class was over, or the particular program was over, I had to be lifted from the seat and put back on a small vehicle, the cycle type of vehicle, which is called rickshaw. It's very, very popular in rural Bengal, may not be that familiar in West. That kind of transport, I mean, was used to, I mean, bring me back and forth between the school and home. And that's how I grew up. I often could not attend the classes and follow the regular curriculum the way it is done by the others. So I always had an isolation. But I managed not with flying colors, but I managed with struggle. And then in the process, I got to learn things which was very unique to me. And I think this gives a very unique insight, very unique experience, which helps to intellectually see things which are otherwise not very clear, not very visible. So
Yeah.
I believe that it has a value. It has an intellectual value of being able to see things from this very particular vantage point of view, both professionally and uh, in everyday experience, in and out of school education, university education. So this gives very unique perspective of life.
It's fascinating. And when you said you grew up in that rural environment, how much do you think that the kind of where you were shaped your experience?
Actually, I used to contemplate a lot. Since my physical movement was rather limited, I used to contemplate a lot, and I used to, find out things, to do things what others are doing. Because I realized I realized since early in my life that my biggest problem is not that the kind of uh, physical shortcoming that I have. My problem is that I'm an extreme minority. Everything around me is designed and evolving for, say, 99 or 99.5% around me. I mean, there were almost no one like me of my condition. So I was very unique, and it was my struggle to get along with the system which was evolving. Otherwise, I would have been left out, right? So to catch up with it, to catch up with something which is not designed for my convenience, it is rather designed for others' conveniences. That was a huge challenge, and that actually gives you a kind of intellectual maturity that is unique, I would say. For example, if I used to play cricket. In this condition, I cannot stand at all. I have no footwork, but I still could bat. I just in my school days, I used to sit in front of the three wickets. Okay, and my head was tall enough to cover. From the top to cover the wickets. Okay, and I used to sit with the bat. The rule of the game was that, okay, you touch the ball. You touch my body with the ball, you will get LBW. Okay. If the ball direction is towards the wicket, you'll get LBW. What is the problem? So play with me like this. So my friends used to play with me like this, and I used to have a runner, okay, to take run for me, and I used to also field close in silly point, or say short mid on, or something like that. So I used to play like this. It was a unique experience. I was, of course, not as good in playing as my peers, but it was a unique experience, and it used to give me a way to, devise the how to compete with others, how to catch up with others, how to cope up with situations which are not, you know, uh, designed for me, which are not uh, as friendly to me as it is friendly to the others, as it is accommodative to the others. It's kind of challenge.
And that's a beautiful story of kind of adapting the normal. In terms of this is how we would usually play cricket, but we're going to adapt it for that inclusion.
Hmm. There are many instances. My mother was very, very supportive of me. And despite my condition, she used to dream a lot about me. My son will be someday, will be big. Okay. So that was a huge inspiration and huge pressure at the same time.
Yeah.
Not that I was very obedient to my parents. I was not. They also didn't know particularly well how to guide me. They didn't guide me at all. So I grew up on my own, which is very unusual in Indian families, because family tries to, meticulously guide you. What to study, I mean, how long to play, and when you are, which jobs are to be taken, which jobs are not to be taken, and when you are adult enough, whom to marry. Even, I mean, these are very much, guided by the families. Unlike in the West, people are more individualistic. So my parents really didn't know how to guide me. So I was very lucky in that sense. I was left on my own and made my life on my own. Nobody expected that I would be able to come this far, but eventually I did. I mean, I actually surpassed expectation of my mother. And particularly in my elementary school, there was a teacher called Pratimadi. She was very, very supportive to me. I'm grateful to her. She's no more in this world. And when I grew up, I got a headmaster. He was his name was Siddheshwar Mitro. I mean, he was very, very supportive of me. He is also no more. But unfortunately, most other teachers or administrators or decision makers, they were rather nonchalant about my conditions. They didn't bother. They didn't really were not sensitive about accommodating me. I mean, everything was left to me. I mean, if you can, you do. If you can do, it's your problem. I mean, don't bother us. Type of attitude, which I get to see a lot even nowadays, even in my current position, in my current institute. Not that nobody is supportive, but people are very few, and particularly in India, I mean, the awareness, the concern is not as much as in the West. So getting uh, supportive administrator, supportive boss, supportive colleague is more difficult to find here than in you can say in the United States or in UK or in Germany.
You told me a really nice experience of you visiting, since you mentioned the United States when I met you. You told me a really good experience when you visited there.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yes. I was there. I worked there. I worked there for more than 2 years.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I worked in 3 different places in US, East Coast, West Coast, and also in Mid-South. So experiences with accessibility was different in 3 different places. So when I was in the Mid-South first, it was Tennessee, State Tennessee. I was in Memphis, University of Memphis, where I was a Fulbright visiting lecturer in the Department of Computer Science. Memphis was, of course, more accessible than India or my city like Kolkata or even Chennai or Bangalore. Memphis is definitely more accessible than that, but it is not as accessible as the next city I worked in. That is Eugene in Oregon, okay, in the West Coast. That was the place I went next. And then I worked in Florida. It was in Boca Raton, some 40 miles north of Miami. So Boca Raton, I was there. I got a postdoc position in Florida Atlantic University. I was there, but when I arrived in Boca Raton, I had huge problems in finding an accessible apartment. Okay, so I had to stay in a hotel for 26 days at $83 per night plus taxes. Fortunately, during my first stint of working in USA a couple of years back, I had some savings in dollars in an US bank. So I could manage, I could sustain on that. But after that, I could find an accommodation, and the landlord was very, very supportive. He came forward and made something, I mean, put ramp in appropriate places and did some arrangements, okay, some bed arrangements and some other small arrangements so that I could comfortably live there. Okay. But that is also not very easy to get in US, because in most of the housing societies that I visited, in the hope of renting out an apartment, that that turned out to be, I mean, accessibility is not there. How to make it accessible? I'm interested in exploring that. Then I was told that there are licensed contractors who are authorized to make buildings accessible. Only those contractors can do the job. Other contractors are not allowed, legally not permitted. But those contractors will charge you highly, and your insurance must have to cover that. Unfortunately, I didn't have that, costly an insurance at that time. It was usual insurance for the international visitors. Uh, I mean, uh, I really could not afford that kind of an insurance. So that was something which I had to face. Also in US, I say visited university like Columbia University. So I was visiting Columbia University. I was told that the guest house, Columbia is a very old university. So the guest house is not very wheelchair friendly, and I'm on a wheelchair, so I I, I cannot use the bathtub. Bathtub is completely inaccessible to me. So the toilet is a big issue, so it has to be with a roll-in shower, okay, and must be without a bathtub. So and getting an apartment in Northern Europe or in US of that time is not very easy. I mean, I visited few times Germany. Also Germany, I mean, finding an apartment where there is no bathtub but with rolling shower, toilet with rolling shower, although the apartment is otherwise accessible. The ramp is there, lift is there, it is otherwise accessible. Roads are nice. But finding an accessible apartment with accessible toilet is not very easy, always. Okay. So that type of problems I faced almost everywhere, in France, in Germany, in US, and in US also, in University of Memphis. One particular administrator, she was Rebecca Lauman, and she was director of international studies. So it was she who took care of my, my needs when I was in that university, and she did a fantastic job, remarkable job. She even contacted with the NGOs to get an electric wheelchair which can go into the US roads, so that I can get wheelchair donated by somebody during my stay over there. Because when I was traveling from India to US, I only had folding manual wheelchair, which was not at all suitable for the large US campuses. Okay, within the Indian campus, within the Indian small institute, I should not say big university campus. India also have some big university campuses, big institute campuses, but the institute where I studied or I worked as postdoc, those really didn't have huge campuses. Okay, so in those campuses, I could manage on manual wheelchair, folding manual wheelchair. But it was not possible in US campuses. Okay. And when particularly you were staying some 2 miles away from your workplace, using this manual wheelchair is very, very inconvenient. So she realized that even before I reached, she realized that, better than me. And it was she who arranged the wheelchair by, looking into various, NGOs working for the persons with disabilities. And she eventually was able to get one donor who was willing to donate his old wheelchair, his earlier used wheelchair, for my use, and that's how I could manage very well during my stay in Memphis. And then eventually I had my own electric wheelchair. Then the things became smooth. But this initial support was very, very crucial, and I'm extremely grateful to her.
Oh,
Fantastic. That's that's really sort of interesting to hear of the different places. Like, these problems are not isolated, right?
Actually, I also worked with sometimes in my life I worked with organizations working for the people with disabilities. disability rights, or working for the better living standard in one organization in US. Okay, in India also I work with a couple of organizations, and so I always emphasize the point that somebody is having a disability, right? Now, if you see it from a very general perspective, no one is perfect. Everyone has his or her own shortcomings. Whether you like to call it disability or not, that's a different issue. Every one of us, whether visible or not, has his or her own shortcomings, own disabilities. I'm not diluting specific disabilities like total loss of vision or total loss of audition or very limited mobility. Okay, I'm not diluting the gravity of their condition. Okay, even without diluting, I would rather say that first try to find out what ability, what kind of talent, everybody has it, what
Yeah.
kind of special abilities, something which you can contribute with, that you have. First you identify it. Okay, it's extremely important. First you identify it, you show your worth. See, I can do this, I can give that. If you want to take it from me, if you value it, you have to value me. You have to value where I'm not valued, right? So the lesson, so the take home message is that then you will see that every person with shortcomings has something extraordinary to offer. So if you discard the shortcoming, you are also discarding the special ability, the extraordinary ability. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
your choice. It's the choice of the society whether you can. You can afford to have it, or you don't care to have it. Okay, that's how I would say that anyone who wants anything from the society, support or value or whatever, is better. Don't beg for it. Don't cry for it. Don't whine for it. Rather, offer that what special things you can offer. Okay, so first do it, and then ask for it. So keep your head high, keep your dignity high. Okay, that's very important. Of course, I know that not every person with disability is capable of doing that. There are persons who are not, who have serious shortcomings in their intellect, in their brain. So for those persons, these kind of things might be difficult. I completely understand. But those who can, many who can, they must first, underscore their abilities before underscoring their disabilities. That's very important. That is the message I want to leave to. I want to leave for everyone.
That's beautiful. That is really beautiful. Having everyone offering value of some description. Thank you.
Absolutely.
As I told you earlier, that I'm to cope up with an environment which is largely designed or molded for others, not for me, right? So I always think out of the box.
I think you are very unique, very extraordinary, fascinating stories. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that and for everything today. We've really sort of benefited from that experience and from everything that you've done. Thank you for sharing your experience so openly. I know these conversations can be personal, and we really appreciate your honesty. I hope this helps other beautifully diverse humans think differently, consider how others may experience the world, and create a more inclusive world. So thank you so much.